56, 2024. The meeting is being broadcasted live on the Township's YouTube channel, and a link to view this meeting will be subsequently posted on the Township website for the public to view at their convenience.
Everyone want to rise for the Princeton flag?
The United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Ms. Fox?
Ms. Fox? Here.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Mr. Giacomucci?
Here.
Mr. Hessel?
Mr. Hessel?
Ms. Kennedy is
Ms. Kennedy is excused tonight. Mr. Kozak?
Mr. Laughlin
Mr. Laughlin is excused tonight. Mr. Maury?
Mr. O'Brien?
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Wolf is excused. Deputy Mayor Kurz is here.
Mr. Young?
Mr. Young?
Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Campbell?
Ms. Pellegrini?
Ms. Pellegrini?
Mr. Dockett?
Mr. Duffy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First order of business is application 548 SP MNK Properties LLC modern subplan. Applicant here? Come right up to the mic. I'll have our solicitors swear anybody that's going to testify in.
The name on the record, Mark Talarico, attorney for M&K Properties.
Who you have as the witnesses this evening?
President of M&K Properties, Mr. Michael Hammond. Keith Conroy, engineer.
And Jim Evans, architect. How do I spell your last name? Mr. Gentlemen, will you raise your right hand? You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide this board is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
You're on.
Thank you, good evening. As noted, I'm here on behalf of M&K Properties for a minor site plan approval for the expansion and construction of a 2,200 square foot business to be part of light industrial park here in the township. And M&K has been a long time business of this township, and they're looking to simply expand their operation for more space with respect to their current existing. President Mr. Hammond is here to answer any questions the board may have with respect to the application that was filed. We could do that either for board questions or specific testimony.
Should Mr. Hammond just explain, just for the record, just explain what his business is and what he intends to do?
Good evening. So we're a manufacturer for basically a pharmaceutical, food industry. It's light manufacturing. We do some government work also. Kind of it in a nutshell, I guess. So we build industrial equipment for those companies.
And about how much space do you occupy?
5,000 square feet at this time.
And how large is the expansion you're proposing?
2,200 square feet.
Slightly under 50%. I'm sorry? Slightly 50%, 45 to 50%. So you're going to increase your number of employees who are there?
No, it is not. Basically, we're just doing this to add more warehouse space, just to move around a little bit easier. At the present time, we're moving stuff in and out every day, which is not very efficient to run the business.
How many employees do you have there during the day?
10.
And it'll stay about the same?
Yes.
Will it increase, do you expect it will increase the amount of deliveries or pickups in terms of the volume of the business you do from the site?
No.
Will it change the character and nature of the business?
No, it will not.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Any questions for any board members?
I have a question. Map here. You just own that one building that's there, or do you own the other ones that are next to it? See this one?
No, just the one. Just one.
Yeah,
701.
Okay.
Pam.
First, you should do completeness. So in our review of the plan and the submitted items, we determined that a written description of proposed operations for the building, including number of employees and proposed number of shifts and tractor trailer traffic, should be provided in written form. Testimony has been provided. We do wish that it be made a condition of approval to provide said information on the plan itself, or a written narrative be provided with the revised forms that we submit.
Anything else? For completeness?
For completeness, no.
And you're okay with just writing?
Yes.
Since they didn't get that?
They gave testimony, so testimony was provided, so if they could provide that in written form.
Right, you're comfortable?
Yeah, that's just for completeness.
I think you can make a motion, just doing it all in favor, accept the application as complete based on the condition or the suggestion that the plans get updated to include the information included on page 2, Pam's report, section 3, in terms of submission requirements.
You heard our solicitor, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion.
Make a motion?
No, please,
Completeness, right.
I'll make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
roll call.
You can do it all.
All in favor,
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ayes have it.
Ayes have it.
Thank you. We will submit written summary and submit for approval.
No, there's more to that.
Yes.
That was just the one thing.
That's just for completeness. So if you
That was completeness, if you got to continue on.
We can hear from your engineer, your architect, or whoever else you want to tell us.
Thank you.
Just to answer your question, Cal, it's a small addition, really not much being done on the site.
Should I go through my report? Okay. Under performance standards for lighting, the plan should be revised to indicate the light manufacturer wattage and the Isolux diagram between reports to proposed parking. Does the applicant agree?
When you say that, Pam, he has to agree with what you suggest, right? Suggest, right? That's
Yeah.
what you're saying.
That they'll revise the plan.
Revise it to your like.
We have
So they'll provide.
we have a proposed wall mount floodlight on the addition that's matched the existing. The engineers requested additional information for modeling on our light coverage, which we can.
Any other board member have any questions?
I think Pam's got a few more comments.
Go ahead, Pam.
Yes, under off-street parking and loading, the existing site does not have a buffer to residential uses, and proposed improvements do not include a buffer. The general parking area is remaining, but being slightly reworked in front of the addition. A waiver has been requested.
That's it, Pam?
Through the chair,
Go ahead,
how do you feel about that waiver for the buffer?
They need a waiver for the buffer.
Are you okay with the waiver?
It's
for
an
the buffer?
existing condition,
Okay, so you're comfortable with that?
yes.
Anyone else?
Pam, no, Pam, I think you have a few more
One more.
comments.
Go ahead, Pam.
The plan does not conform to the parking size requirements. The existing site has general parking layout that is 9 by 18, and only required 10 by 20. A waiver has been requested. It's existing parking is being reworked.
No objection to that waiver?
No objection to that waiver?
No.
What's your next comment?
The existing site has trash pickup locations throughout the site that are totally enclosed containers. The containers are generally screened by the various building. They don't meet the minimum requirement of not typical trash pickup areas, so a waiver is required.
Again, it's an existing,
Is the existing condition, yes.
Has there, either to the applicant or to his professionals, has there been any problem with the trash, blowing, people complaining? No. No? Okay.
based on the proposed expansion, you don't anticipate any
No.
additional disposal or waste beyond what you've always had?
Okay, thank you.
As I mentioned before, with the addition, they're reworking some of the parking, the required parking is 15 spaces where 13 spaces are proposed and a waiver has been requested. The revisions mainly are to accommodate the main door. I don't have any objection.
Through the chair, they're not saying any additional employees or anything. So- And they're not additional traffic from deliveries or anything, right? So it should be a problem, right?
No, as mentioned, there's no additional employees.
And no
for
any-
the expansion, and it's really not a in and out type of traffic industrial site, so there's not an anticipation of any additional traffic whatsoever.
And just as a note for the board, the stormwater associated with the addition has been determined to be de minimis and will not result in changed drainage patterns, impacts to surrounding buildings or drainage downstream properties. The existing roof runoff drains to the back of the building into a winter grass swale. There are a couple of general comments of items that need to be added to the plan. The plan should include proposed grade shots to ensure the runoff does not pond between the proposed addition and the existing neighboring building. The building has a new man door as well as a new overhead door, so concrete pads shall be installed to access those doors. And in addition, details for the concrete shall be provided on the plans. Does the applicant agree to provide?
Through the chair,
Go ahead, Ed.
if there is any problems with, because of this building, they would have to correct it.
They would have to-
Neighbors complain, or the other neighbors in the complex there, then they would have to correct it.
They would have to correct it, yes.
You understand?
And in our report is typical fees, contributions, and obligations. Does the applicant have any questions regarding these?
So, are there any other comments in the Collier's report that the applicant doesn't, you accept and will comply with conditions outlined in the report?
We do accept.
That concludes my report.
Just overall, through the chair, you're comfortable with doing here?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me call our planner. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. I think probably half of my report was covered between the brief testimony we just heard as well as the Collier's engineer review letter. I'll go over the zoning really quick. These are conditional uses in the district. Their testimony has been that the actual use itself is not changing, therefore, to make it clear, I think you do still have jurisdiction. There's no D3 conditional use variance required here. There are two new variances that are required of the application. They're both technically for existing conditions, but they're making minor changes to those areas. A front yard setback of 75 feet is required, where this building is 30 feet away from the front yard, even though it's kind of the L shape, it's technically a front yard. Where they're extending the building is going to be matching the existing front yard setbacks. They're not encroaching any further than the existing condition, but since they are widening the building, it technically means it's a new variance and not just purely an existing condition. I have no objection to granting the variance based on that it's essentially in the rear of the property, and I believe the other side of the property from this is more light industrial uses. They're not causing any detriment here, in my opinion. They also need a variance for the lot coverage. 25% is permitted. They're at about 54% right now, and this addition is going to be another 1% increase. So it's an existing non-conforming condition. It's increasing by about 1%. So rather a de minimis increase in the amount of lot coverage, and it's not something that's triggering any stormwater management requirements. So I don't see any real issue with that as well. There's about 9 design waivers that are required. They're all also for existing conditions. They're not essentially changing, other than they are reconfiguring the parking a little bit. A few comments I did have. And one additional question about the parking. So I noticed where you're reconfiguring the parking, the way you're counting your parking spaces, several of them are in front of a different building. The way the parking works on site right now, is there like each building is assigned a certain number of spaces, or is it just anybody can park anywhere on the property?
For the most part, yeah, they can park anywhere.
Because it's not specifically that your employees and yourself, you are designated the spots are right in front of your building and your neighbor to the
Correct.
south has their spots, it's just all over. Okay, then that being the case, parking really should be viewed on the site as a whole as opposed to just parking required for this business versus that business. And I'm assuming at this point the parking has worked to date based on a previous site plan approval, and if they're not changing the number of employees or number of deliveries, then I see no issue with that parking. I don't think on the plans they have provided calculations that they require overall parking. The amount of parking provided is a little unclear, because it seems like a lot of it is kind of unstriped. But being this a light industrial operation is not really changing other than expanding storage space, I don't see it necessary to require any great changes there, that they go in and repave and restripe everything if it's currently working as it is. I think that's it. Like I said, there's a number of design waivers for things like lack of landscaping in the parking area. What else do we have here? Because those are all existing conditions. Yeah. There are accessory structures that are in areas that they're not supposed to be, because they're on the perimeter, technically in the front yard. Looks like there's a few of these C boxes that are encroaching on a side yard setback. The buffering, as Pam had already mentioned, parking stalls, landscaping in the parking lot, the trash. Not clear how many parking spaces are there, but I don't think it's a problem. There's no sidewalks on the frontage on Thomas Avenue. Again, I don't have a problem with that. This is not an area where a lot of people are walking. And then the buffer, which is currently not provided to the residences to the north. Those are all existing conditions that aren't supposed to change with this application or be impacted by what they're proposing to do here. I think that. No additional signage proposed, just a building expansion?
Just the expansion.
Okay, those are all the comments I have.
You have anything else?
You have anything else before I call on the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have one other question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My recollection is this is a building in a complex of, it's a condominium, correct?
So
So if the board is to grant approval, we obviously don't speak to, you're expanding the footprint of your condominium unit. That's between you and the condominium association. You've got to manage your condo docs or do that.
Yeah,
Us.
we got approval from.
That's fine.
So the plan should probably.
So the plan should probably reflect
The unit.
the unit.
From the condominium association.
Yes.
I just had one question. The application indicated advanced welding systems in addition, so it was assumed to be a welding shop, so based on their testimony, it's actually something different.
Can you elaborate on that?
Can you elaborate on that?
Mr. Haddon testified, it is a welding shop.
Can you make the
That's
name?
A little bit better description.
Yeah, it's basically a full fabrication. We do bending, rolling, welding, finishing. Again, a lot of stuff for the pharmaceutical industry, food industry. Do a lot of polishing and stuff like that.
You make machines.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry?
Make machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, parts of equipment, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Through the chair,
Dan?
no ADA parking?
They are proposing one ADA spot right in front of the building. I'll defer to Pam in terms of whether it's graded properly. They do show one spot on the plans.
That's the purpose of the concrete pads for the entrances. The site is required to be ADA compliant.
The other thing is, I think you mentioned C boxes that are on site. Were they approved anywhere along the line? We should be discussing that.
I'll defer.
And I'm thinking to clean it up, so if they can get approval for them. They don't want
They're
to
just
come up.
storage, so yeah, they're just C-box, we just store stuff.
Understand what I'm saying, right?
Storage, they're just trying to expand to be able to.
They're gonna stay, the C boxes?
Yes.
Maybe technically considered temporary, I mean, they're
No,
not,
he said they're staying. He just said they're staying.
it's like a trailer, really. Pick them up and set them.
So are they on the plan? They're shown on
They're shown on these, they're not shown as new. To get into that, I'm a little curious. It looks like almost each building has at least one of these adjacent to the buildings. I don't know if it was something that was possibly previously approved with the original site plans. It's not just this use, there are, just looking at the plans here, there are 4 C boxes with 4 buildings shown, one of which looks like it's actually on an adjacent property. I don't know if it's of use by anybody on this property or not, but there's several of them already out there, not just by the applicant, but apparently the other condominium owners each have a C box as well.
So I think the board can do one of two things. We can approve the site, the modification site plan, and not address that. I don't know if they're code compliant or not, right?
Well, they're technically designed to be picked up and moved if there's containers. So they're not technically permanent. I mean, they might leave them there on a semi-permanent basis, but I don't think they would be considered a permanent structure.
I don't think they're.
Well, I don't think they're considered a permanent structure, but that doesn't mean they can necessarily be there, right? So,
I think it'd be treated similar to,
I'm not saying to get rid of them, I'm saying we should address it, and this way, later on, they don't come and say, well, why wasn't it addressed at the planning?
so that's the board's, I mean, we can note that. If the board is inclined to approve the application and note that they're there, I just don't know. I don't know if they're code compliant. or not.
several of them are non-conforming in terms of the setbacks. I would view them the same way as a residence. You can get a 10 by 12 shed from Home Depot and you drop it in your backyard and it's not on a foundation or anything necessarily. But it's not a fully permanent structure either, but if these.
But a shed's not meant to be a container that's for moving stuff.
Not
These
necessarily.
containers, if they're a C-box, their actual design is you put stuff in them and you can actually pick it up and ship it somewhere. So it's not meant to be there necessarily as a permanent. You can store stuff and ship it in that container.
Through the chair, how long have you been there? How long has yours been there?
Probably about 10 years.
Is it the same one?
Same one.
You don't plan to move it?
No.
Okay, so he's not moving it around, he's using it as storage.
I guess what I was trying to say is you can treat them the same way in terms of zoning purposes as if they were just any accessory structure. I don't think your code requires an accessory structure be set on foundations or anchored fully into the ground. It might be a building code issue, but I don't think the zoning requires it.
What I was, if it's an accessory structure, there are setbacks that are required.
And they're currently non-conforming to those setbacks, several of them.
With one that's not, that's encroaching on their property.
The neighbor's property.
This one looks like it's on the property.
When is it? Encroaching, you said?
One is encroaching,
Well,
it sits on.
It's entirely on the lot to the east.
But not his.
May or may not be his, I don't know.
I mean, I understand if it's on the property line, but. So that would have to be moved probably, but. They're no different than a trailer just parked in my yard.
To let him explain to you what how this works.
Well, I think they haven't come to you and asked you for any approval or relief relating to these structures. They've asked you to approve the expansion of existing buildings. So I think the board has the discretion to recognize that they're there, that they're part of the site plan, and approve it as part of the site plan based on the testimony you heard. Or you can defer and ask your code officer to go out, ask the township's code officer to go out and evaluate them and see if further inquiries warranted. I think either decision is valid, either method is appropriate. I think it's the board's pleasure as to how they.
If we might add, the C-box that you mentioned that's encroaching over property line, that is not one of the C-boxes.
Right, it's not your C-box. It's one of the other C-boxes in the site.
Could be the neighbors, and it's on his property, just happens to be noted on these plans. There's no note on these plans saying specifically this is part of this application, it's just on the plans on the drawing.
Right, as it should be, because it's there.
Any other questions from any board members? You guys have anything else you want to add?
We do not.
I'll entertain a motion on this application before us.
So, Mr. Chairman, if the board is inclined to, if a member of the board is inclined to make a motion, the motion should include conditions to comply with the recommendations in both the engineer and planner's reports.
Did you open up the public yet?
No, not yet.
We should do that first.
I need a motion to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Hi.
Anyone from the public want to comment on this application before us? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion. Second. All in favor? Mr. Schloss.
Sure, so if the board is inclined, if a member of the board is inclined to make a motion to approve the application, it should include a condition that the applicant will revise the plans consistent with the comments and recommendations of the board's planner and board's engineer, and those plans will be revised to their satisfaction. I think the motion should either directly say that it will acknowledge the existence of the boxes that are there.
Or
Or
in the absence of that.
in the absence of that, I'm going to presume that there's no express approval for those boxes, and
They're there.
they're there. It's an existing condition, and either the town, if it wants to go out and look at it, I'm going to look at it.
I'll entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion with the approval or recommendations and for it to be checked out by the town zoning board.
Zoning officer.
Zoning officer.
The zoning.
Okay, so the zoning, the condition will be that the zoning, if it's approved, the zoning officer will be directed to evaluate the boxes and make sure there's no other zoning or code issues that need to be addressed.
So Andy was the first. Did anybody second that?
Who seconded?
I'll second it, this
All right,
condition
Dan.
Andy
Thank you.
suggested.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, roll call.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes, with the conditions.
Ms.
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mari?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, the next order of business is 550 SP K Bud Monroe LLC. Minus site plan. Applicant here?
Yeah, they're coming up.
Sorry, Andy. That's why.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Emmanuel Sanfilippo, attorney with the law firm of Nemad, Davidson, Goldstein.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Of course.
My name is
Emmanuel Sanfilippo, attorney with the law firm of Nemad, Davidson, Goldstein. Here to represent the applicant, Kind Buds Monroe LLC here tonight. I have with me exhibit packets that would assist in following along with the presentation. If I may approach and hand those out.
Are you gonna have people testifying?
Yes.
All right, well, let's get our solicitors to swear them all in.
Okay, and did you want to go over their experience, credentials, and what have you when we get to them?
Whatever, however you choose to do it.
So, your three witnesses are to your left?
Yes, so with me to my left, we have Dan Patterson, the board, or the engineer for the project, and Russell Kupta, the applicant's representative tonight. With him as well is Aaron Robinson, who is the operator of the establishment, should it be approved tonight.
Can you repeat Russell's question?
Kupta.
Thank you.
Gentleman,
Lady, would you raise your right hand?
Swear or affirm?
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide this board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, I'm here on behalf of Kind Buds Monroe LLC, who submitted an application for a minor site plan approval regarding the property located at 1056 Black Horse Pike. This property is designated as Block 3601, Lot 6 on the Monroe Township tax map. The property is located in the RG-C zoning district, where Class 5 cannabis retail is specifically permitted by Code Section 175-163.4 D1 subsection E. The site currently hosts an existing shopping center with other commercial uses, and the applicant is proposing to renovate the interior of units 3 and 4 of the shopping center in order to establish that Class 5 cannabis retail facility. These units are the units that formerly hosted the Mainland Produce Store. No exterior site improvements are proposed by virtue of this application other than the replacement of the existing building-mounted tenant identification signage with the sign depicting the Kind Buds logo. That sign will conform to Monroe Township zoning requirements and will not exceed the dimensions of the existing sign. A brief history on the application for the record. It was originally submitted under cover letter dated December 4th, 2024. The applicant received the board engineer's review memorandum by letter dated February 3rd, 2025, which deemed the application incomplete unless certain waivers were granted or deferred to be provided as conditions of approval. The applicant also received the board planner's review memorandum by letter dated February 28th, 2025, which made no comment with respect to completeness. By email dated March 3rd, 2025, the board secretary offered to schedule the applicant for the hearing this evening, to which the applicant acquiesced. While no point-by-point response was submitted in advance of this hearing to address the comments contained within the review memos, we will be attempting to address all comments received during the testimony presented tonight. We remain committed to working with the board's professionals to resolve any open comments that might remain after the completion of the testimony presented. With regard to notice was published in the Courier Post and mailed via certified mail, return receipt requested to property owners within 200 feet of the outer boundary of the subject property on March 26, 2025. On April 1st, 2025, the applicant submitted a proof package with an affidavit of service demonstrating notice was published and mailed in accordance with the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law requirements. Accordingly, this board has jurisdiction to hear this application. At this time, I'll begin with the testimony and presentation. First, we will have our project.
To start, for the record, I reviewed the notice that you provided, and I would advise the board that notice appears appropriate and the board has jurisdiction. I think before we put your case on, can we go through the completeness?
Yes, my engineer will be assisting with that as well.
Okay.
Per our letter dated February 3rd, 2025, under submission requirements, the following items are not provided, and either a waiver of completeness or deferral by the planning board to provide as condition of approval shall be provided. The existing building height has not been provided. Lighting standards and signs and driveways within the tract and within 100 feet of the tract. The driveway access alleyway behind the existing building and the existing buildings to the northeast of the building are within 100 foot of the site and have not been shown on the plan. The existing and proposed wooded buffer and landscaping areas have not been shown on the plan. Information pertaining to drainage facilities, existing and sewer and water facilities have not been provided. Proposed lighting facilities have not been included on the plan. Utility service connections have not been provided. Existing service connections are to be utilized. Will serve letters have not been provided with this application. We recommend this as a condition of approval. A written description of proposed building operations was not provided with this application. We recommend this testimony be provided and a written summary be made as a condition of approval.
Mr. DiFilippo, can you respond to those deficiencies and tell us how you either intend to address them or why you want to?
Absolutely. With regard to the building height, it's my understanding that our project engineer will revise the plan to provide that. With regard to the driveway access alleyway behind the existing building and the existing buildings to the northeast of the building, which are within 100 feet of the site and not shown on the plan, we will be seeking a waiver from providing those items on the plan. My engineer will provide a little bit of testimony as to why we believe that it would not be necessary to provide those on the plan. Additionally, existing and proposed wooded buffer and landscaping areas aren't shown on the plan. We will be seeking a waiver providing that requirement as well for the same purpose. With regard to utilities, apologies. With regard to the utilities, will we be seeking a waiver from providing the information pertaining to drainage facilities? So a waiver will be sought for that requirement as well. Continuing on the utilities topic, we will be seeking a waiver from providing a lighting plan. Seeking a waiver from providing a lighting plan as well, using the existing site lighting. Is it correct that the applicant will be using the existing utility connections to service the operation? So, and then do you agree as a condition of any approval granted, will serve letters will be sought and provided on behalf of the applicant? And Additionally, as a condition of any approval granted, will the applicant go over, or apologies, let me rephrase. With regard to the standard operating procedures, we'll be trying to address all of our standard operating procedures pertaining to security, noise, odor, and the like through the testimony presented tonight. We would be seeking to address that comment in that manner. And that was, I believe, all of the completeness comments.
So Pam, in your opinion, does the board still have adequate information, or do we expect that adequate information be provided for them to evaluate the application with those waivers, if the board would grant?
With sufficient testimony as to their operations, I would say yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you wanted to take the board want to make a motion to accept the application as complete, subject to the caveat that the record is supplemented with consumer appropriate.
You heard our solicitor and the applicant. At this time, I need a motion to, with all the comments, to have this application complete. I need a motion. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call. No, you want to do it for us?
Yes, please.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Ayes have it. Thank you. Go right on.
Thank you. All right, so as I mentioned before, the project engineer, Dan Patterson, is with me tonight. At this time, I'd like to qualify him as an expert in the field of engineering and land surveying. And if you wouldn't mind giving the board a bit of your background and expertise in the fields.
So I have, my name is Dan Patterson, I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor. I'm licensed in the state of New Jersey as both of those things. I have been licensed as a professional land surveyor since 2012. Licensed as a professional engineer since 2013. I currently own and operate my own professional engineering and surveying practice called Patterson Surveying and Engineering.
Mr. Patterson, have you offered testimony before this board or the zoning board in this township before?
I have not provided testimony before this board. I've provided testimony before numerous land use boards.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that you accept Mr. Patterson as an expert in your site civil engineering and surveying.
No problem. No problem. Proceed.
Thank you. So I'll just take us through this. Yes, please. How we're situated? Yes, please. So on the site plan, we have Black Horse Pike is the main road here. We have side street, there's an only access road on the west side of the site. It's an existing strip mall that has existing parking, has existing lighting facilities. There's large concrete base extensions with the kind of on top of the parking. It's all existing. We're not really proposing it very much in the way of site improvements. It's to get the use of this high-level area built for the applicant's proposal. It's currently through the three handicap spaces, 62 regular, of which, so there's 62 regular parking spaces. There's an access drive in the lower portion of the building, which is dedicated for loading and unloading units out back doors like using. One of the items that came up in the report was landscape buffering. We're sort of not really able to address that because the hills are driving around this. That's why we're seeking a waiver for that.
So you indicated that we're not really doing any exterior improvements to the site, other than that building out the signage that I referenced earlier, correct? With regard to the lighting at the site, is it the applicant's intention to use the existing site lighting? With regard to loading and unloading and deliveries, there are currently 3 access drives along Melba Drive where only 2 are permitted by the code, such that this is an existing non-conforming condition. Is that correct? Now, with regard to the loading and pickup, where is that design for the applicant? Will the loading occur in the front or in the back?
The loading will occur in the back to the applicant, which we detail.
Yes, and we will provide more information on the applicant testifies to the loading and unloading of the Kansas to parking, we touched on it previously. There's 62 parking spots, of which 3 are ADA. And based on your review, or how many of, or, I apologize. However, since the applicant's only proposing interior renovations for the most part, the applicant would be able to use the existing parking to service their operation.
Absolutely.
The applicant intends to use the existing parking lot for customers. Perfect. And you already touched upon landscaping and how the site is pretty challenged with regards to providing an occasional landscaping to the same existing impervious coverage of the site, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are some minimal, landscape areas between the parking and the road.
But as the applicant is not the owner of the site, it would be something for the owner to potentially bring themselves in and speak to, correct? That's all I have for our project engineer. If the board has any questions they'd like to ask of them.
Board have any questions?
Board have any questions, city engineer? Thank you, Rashid.
I will now call up our representative of the applicant, Council Cutler. Mr. Russell, you're the owner, or operator, and representative in part of Planning Budget, correct? And generally, in your background, you've worked with other cannabis dispensaries across the state of New Jersey, correct? Yes. And you've consulted and invested with these businesses and own them, so this is something that you are very familiar with and continue to be operating within that field, correct? That's correct. You reviewed plans, reports, and exhibits that were provided on behalf of this application, and you believe that they're all true and accurate representations of what you're proposing. You heard everything stated by your engineer as well, correct? And you agree with what he stated? Yes. Now, let's start with the licensing for the project. Kindbud's Manure received a municipal resolution of support, correct? Yes. And that resolution of support was adopted on March 27, 2023, correct? Yes. Now, with regard to CRC licensing, Kindbud's Monroe LLC has received its annual license, correct? Yes. And that annual license was awarded via letter dated on February 23, 2024, correct? Yes. Now, let's go into the operations of the business. Do we have the floor plan up here? Yeah, show. Thanks. Okay, so let's start with the bare bones. The hours of operation, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., as the ordinance permits. Now, how many employees do you anticipate? About 3 to 5? And security, you are proposing 1 security guard? Thank you. Now, let's walk the board a little bit. I'm going to turn this over. Walk the board through the board plan a little bit. So first, can you point out on the plan where the main entrance of the building is? I can give you the exhibit up close if you'd like. Perfect. And so customers will enter into that main entrance, correct? There's no other entrances for the public to enter into the facility, correct? Now, once they get in there, they'll reach what's known as the check-in area, correct? There's a lobby. Now, in that lobby, they'll wait if there happens to be 2, they'll wait there 15, 50 by up to 20 sales associates. Their ID will be checked. Perfect. So their ID will be checked in the lobby, and then they'll be granted access into the main sales floor area. Can you point out the sales floor area on the plan?
You started the presentation with the site plan, which I'd like to, for the record, mark as A1. What's the schematic that you're showing us and working with now?
This is the floor plan. It is in the exhibit packets under A4.
Okay, it's listed as A4 in the site plan, in the packet.
In the exhibit packet. I should have mentioned the municipal resolution of support is A2, and the CRC annual license is A3. That were referenced previously. My apologies.
Thank you.
Okay. With regard, so we mentioned the sales floor is shown right after you get to the lobby area. Can you point out where the vault is on the plan? Now, does the public have any means of accessing that area of the facility, or are they closed off from getting to that? Perfect. Now, is there a break room and bathroom provided for the employees? Perfect. And also an office as well for the employees to manage? And lastly, can you point out where the secure entrance area is at the rear of the facility to allow for deliveries? Perfect.
Now let's go through.
Now let's go through the typical in-store customer experience. As we mentioned, they'll walk through the main lobby, they'll verify that they're ages 21 and over, and then proceed to the sales floor. There are going to be designated lines for online pre-orders versus people who are placing their order in-store. Now, with the in-store, if they're coming in-store to shop specifically, can they view gummy packages that may be on display or educational materials? Okay. Now, will people who are visiting the facility in person have the ability to speak with a point of sales associate who may be able to educate them on what they could be potentially in need of? Absolutely. Perfect. Once an order is placed, the order is picked and packed from the rear of the facility in the vault, and then passed through a drawer to the sales floor, correct? Yes. Now, once the customer pays for the transaction, collects their products, they exit through the same doorway that they had entered through, correct? Or at least the same side of the door? Yes. Perfect. Now, you had some interior renderings prepared to give the board an idea of what the interior may look like, correct? Now, those interior renderings have been provided to the board within the exhibit packet. They are marked as A5. There's 5 sheets, and I'll just allow Russell to briefly go over what each of them demonstrates for them.
So the first one, it says lobby. Basically, you can see that there will be a check-in. That's where we identify that the patient or customer is over 21 or over. And there's some seating there to be able to wait if there is a line, like at the entrance.
So in your opinion, do you think this seating area would help alleviate any potential, if there's a very high demand at one point, this would help alleviate that so there's not people, camping out there?
Yeah, the probability of this being used is very little, but we hope it is because it's busy, but it's more for like if someone elderly needs to sit down, something like that, or if there is a more patients that are given at one time. The third is basically what the layout of the inside of the store will look like. Basically, bud tenders behind the counter, they're called, that will basically help the people with anything that they would need or any questions that they have. The next one is the same thing. And it's pretty much the same, like it's a different view from the inside.
All right, so, is there any questions on the renderings before I move on from those?
Any questions from any board members?
Thank you. So you've explained what we can see through the interior renderings. Let's also talk to the board about the process for pickup of orders that were placed online. So are those orders picked and packed from the vault in the same manner that an in-store placed order would be picked and packed? And they're either stored in the vault until the customer arrives or stored in cabinets located behind the POS counter, both of which are secured areas, correct? Now, when the customer comes in and picks up the item stored, they would still have to enter the lobby and demonstrate that they're over the age of 21, correct? And then they'll enter the sales floor and get in line for the specific line for the pre-order pickup, correct? Then they'll meet a consultant and verify the order. Again, is there another age verification when they meet the consultant?
Yes, so they have to show their ID.
Okay. And then the customer will exit through presumably the same area as what a customer who purchased in-store would exit through?
Yes.
Perfect. So now we're going to go through the secure delivery and cash pickup. So the cannabis products that you intend to sell in store, are they procured from a licensed cannabis distributor or wholesaler?
Yes.
And how are they delivered? Via very noticeable vans that let you know, or?
No, they're like Sprinter vans that are unmarked, and they come, everything comes already prepackaged, just like you're receiving any other retail package.
So that delivery van, it'll pull around to the rear of the site, that delivery area?
Yes.
And those products, as you mentioned, will be delivered in sealed packages. Are they brought in through that entrance, or does an employee meet them outside and bring them in through the So there's never a time where an individual may access the facility without someone who's a representative of the facility being there. So the employees would then transfer those products that you've had delivered into the vault. And then once the product is securely in the vault, is it manifested in the state seed-to-sale system, otherwise known as a metric?
Yes.
And could you basically give a very brief overview of what metric is?
Yeah, what seed to sell and metric is basically from the growth facility, whenever they put a seed in the ground, it basically tracks that seed to a plant, to the product, and then to the retail location, and then to the person. So it goes the whole way. That's why they call it seed to sell. And it's the state system to keep track of all the products.
Thank you. So once the product is logged in the metric and stored within the vault until an order is placed, there won't be anyone who goes to touch that product. It's only once the order is placed that, someone is going to read it. Okay, and there won't be any outside storage of cannabis product, or cannabis-related materials?
No.
When an order is placed, either through an online pre-order or by a customer in the store, all those products get picked and packed directly from your vault. Nothing's coming from the deliverer right to, let's say, the POS area. It's always marked. Now, when there's a cash pickup, that's curing through the display areas of rear, never in the front. With regard to the people who will be delivering and or picking up, those are all people who have clearance to do so, correct?
Licensing.
Yep. These pickup personnel will not have direct access to the vault, though?
No.
Those cash pickups will be contracted through a licensed third-party vendor, as you indicated. How often does pickup typically occur?
Usually about twice a week, depending on the day.
Okay. And the timing of deliveries and cash pickup, are they intentionally randomized?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, we're going to switch to the building security. Thank you. The security plan is also shown in the exhibit packet as A6. So the building security, using cameras, of course, does it involve 360-degree coverage of the site? Yes. Or of your site specifically? Now, that includes the interior and the exterior of the building as well, right? And the parking lot, which is monitored to ensure that no on-site consumption will occur. Do you have a security alarm system that provides super protection or deterrence against potential theft? Now, with that, the security plan, do we intend to provide the security plan to the Monroe Township Police Department for their review and comment if necessary? Absolutely. Are these systems supported by a backup system that will activate immediately and automatically if there's a loss of electrical support? So there's never going to be a time period where these systems could be out barring 3 or 4 hours. Perfect. Cameras are monitored by an outside agency, 24/7, 365?
Yes.
Is there key card controlled access to the building?
Yes.
And that can be programmed differently for different people to control the access?
Yes.
With any incidents that arise during operational hours, are they handled by an on-site manager and security personnel who's on site? And consistent with state regulations, state police and the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, they will all have the ability to access camera footage, which is required to be safeguarded and stored for at least 30 days. Perfect. Regarding on-site security in person, the on-site security you touched upon will include 1 employee. That employee will be background trained in security services, correct? And in your specific security protocols for that facility, correct?
Yep.
And will they be on site prior to opening, an hour?
Yeah, 1 hour before, until the last employee gets taken care of.
Perfect. So there will never be a time period where there's employees on site without security overwatch? Perfect. In addition to an on-site security person, we designate a staff member or members that provide support for tasks, including doing the rounds of the dispensary, helping maintain a clean environment, potentially doing customer service, such as educating people who may need a little assistance in picking their products.
Yes.
We already touched upon it, but just to harken back to to it, you do not permit the on-site consumption of cannabis, correct? Now, we've already mentioned, you'll coordinate with township police. With regard to cannabis product storage, their inventory through metric, but with disposal, only the disposal process, let's say a product is defective, it's reached the end of its useful life, how are products disposed? Is there a specific process that CRC has implemented?
Yes, we can either send it back to the warehouse, or we can make it unusable by mixing it with different ingredients.
And the CRC has a specific process to render it unusable, and you would follow that process?
Yes.
Perfect. Destroyed cannabis would be taken off site, as you indicated, right? It wouldn't just be thrown in the regular trash. Perfect. With regard to noise, is it your opinion that this noise is no different than any other retail use?
Correct.
And only outside noise that may occur, general parking, maybe the reverse of the Sprinter vans if they have a parking beeper, is that it?
Accurate. Yep.
Thank you. Regarding odor, products for retail cannabis, are they going to be delivered in sealed containers?
Yes.
And of course, since there's no on-site consumption, they'll be leaving the site in those sealed containers, correct? Correct. And this will help limit the odor on site, especially outside the building. Inside the building, do you plan to use a carbon filtration system? And will that system meet the requirements of the CRC? And these systems, will they minimize the smell inside the building to ensure that no cannabis smell might remain inside the building if that gets disseminated into the air outside when people are opening doors? Great. In regard to general trash, office trash, that would include typical office, bathroom facilities, and what have you. That will be disposed of at the enclosure that services the shopping center each day. Great. Now, we're going to switch to signage. And the signage exhibit is also marked as A7 in the exhibit packet. So, the identification signage, as previously, you intend to use signage that's permitted by one of the township zoning ordinance, correct? Only identification signage to replace the current existing identification signage? Perfect. That's all I have for this witness. If the board has any questions as well.
Board have any questions before I move to our engineer and planner?
One question, is the security guard going to be out there when you're getting your delivery? Okay, so he's going to be involved in the whole transaction?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your lobby, how many?
Your lobby, how many?
What's your occupancy?
What's your occupancy of the lobby?
I know, it's fairly large. I mean, I would guess 10 to 20 could fit.
Through the chair, it's 7 days a week. I heard you say the time frame, 7 days.
Yeah,
10 to 10, 7.
Depending on the volume, we could cut back.
No, I'm not using to come back. I just wanted to verify till we have it on the record.
Security.
It's security, like was just stated.
Delivery, is that
Delivery,
at
is
certain
that at
times?
certain times?
It's
It
random.
is random.
It is random.
But it's during the open, we don't receive.
Okay, so it can be at
Okay,
any
so it
time.
could begin any
Just
time,
because you're gonna keep it.
just because
Okay.
you're going to keep it. Okay,
Gotcha, understood.
gotcha,
Thank you.
understood. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Pam, our engineer. Then we'll go to our planner after that. Go ahead.
Under design, performance, and evaluation standards, under lighting, the applicant, illumination at ground level should be at 2.4-foot candles. So it's specified that there is existing site lighting to be utilized, but the applicant should provide a plan to the board illustrating the parking area meets the required illumination level. Shall I go through each one individually, or?
Why don't you ask them to respond? As she gives her comments, can you provide us what your...
Yeah, we can go through each in turn. Just to reiterate, we're on 5.1 in the report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeking a waiver for that because we're relying on it's there, we're not making any changes to it, presumably it has been approved for the site plan process.
Okay, so a waiver is being requested.
Correct.
Off-site parking and loading. The site currently utilizes 3 access drives along Melba Drive, exceeding the requirement of 2 per street. This represents a pre-existing non-conforming condition. The applicant should provide testimony as to the delivery and pickup will be conducted at the facility. Delivery and pickup of the cannabis project should be completed in a secure designated area on site. The applicant just provided an overview of their security plan for pickups and delivery. It is my understanding that they'll be met at the door, and there's a security guard that's there as well. And it's random deliveries.
Correct.
The applicant has not provided a dedicated fire lane or fire zone. We defer any requirements to be addressed by the fire marshal since it's an existing site. The applicant should provide a parking stall count for the existing businesses on the site and a proposed stall count for the cannabis business. The applicant should prove that there will be no impact from a parking perspective to surrounding businesses. Testimony to be provided. Just for the board, the cannabis use requires additional parking above what normally a strip center would require. So in a rough calculation that I did, depending on how many employees, it could be, in the lower 70s required versus 62 that are on the site. So the testimony about that should be provided about impact.
Speak a little bit about the parking stall count that is provided on site and what is required. I mean, the board's professional has just touched upon what is required for the cannabis business. Can you just touch upon what we are proposing here as far as the changes to parking and what we can expect?
Yeah, as the professional engineer has indicated, based on the strict calculations and uses that are currently there, the parking count comes out to be below the requirement.
Would be slightly difficult as this applicant is not the owner of the site to ascertain what the specific parking count for each individual use would be without going into those businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Part of the problem is trying to quantify the required parking for all these other businesses there that we're not really affiliated with or associated with.
Is that because some of the parking amounts are based upon seat counts, which we don't have the ability to ascertain without entering into the business for that purpose? So we would be seeking a variance providing the required parking amount, but we do submit that we believe the variance is justified.
It would be a waiver.
Or waiver, my apologies.
Yeah. The impact is basically what I'm looking for is because based on your visits to the site, is there available parking for your business?
When you were performing the site work, did you notice whether or not that parking lot was it, continuing to be about 50% full, maybe less?
Yeah, no allowed vehicles with respect to the parking. So should be that.
And also, have you had the opportunity to visit the site in person or not? And while you were there, did you happen to notice any open parking spaces that could service the cannabis facility? Okay,
How many spaces are on site?
62.
And we don't know what
And we don't know what
the other uses are.
the other uses are, whether or not they're occupied or what they are.
Now, I defer to Chris, but I think it's one per.
There's a couple of restaurants, I forget entirely, but anytime there's a shopping center like this, you kind of have to assume there's going to be changes in tenancy periodically, that what's there now might not be there 5 years from now. The code requires, where there's a little bit of a disconnect, cannabis requirements are based on number of employees, or strip shopping centers in general are based on the square footage of the building. What is it? 5 per thousand for a shopping center, which would require 65 parking spaces, just considering the shopping center. But cannabis is required, what is it, 1 space for each employee on a maximum shift?
And 15 stalls.
I'm sorry, yeah, and, yeah, 15 spaces per business plus one for each employee on a maximum. I don't know, I suppose you could look at it and say, if you removed the square footage of the cannabis business from the rest of the shopping center, did 15 spaces for the cannabis business plus 5 or 6 per employee, that's 20, then, you know, what's the parking calculation on the remainder of the shopping center? But either way, the parking that's out there is what's out there, it's 62. At a minimum, they require a waiver, because 65 at minimum would be required if you ignored the cannabis specific requirement.
It's a different ask, it's the difference between 62 and 65, and 62 and some larger.
75, whatever that works out to.
I think, Pam, we got sidetracked, actually.
Yeah, that's all right, I kind of figured that.
Pam, go ahead.
Pam, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Is, I'm sorry, Pam, real quick. Is there,
Is there any
is there
parking in
any
back at all?
parking in back at all?
No.
Nothing
No.
if there's not
Nothing,
any
if
at
there's
all?
not any at all?
No, it's just an alleyway.
Just an alleyway?
Okay,
Okay.
that's it. Okay.
That's it? Okay.
I mean, a rough calc, if you subtract the area of the cannabis store from the rest of the building and what's left over, you did at the 5 per thousand, that's 54. Then you add 15 for the cannabis building, and then they said 3 to 5 employees. So it'd be 73 to 75 spaces. And there's 62.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure, you know, the difference is on the record.
Just to reiterate, again, the applicant not proposing any exterior site changes, so we wouldn't be seeking that waiver to provide additional parking for the flag controlling the site, and request that the applicant be permitted to use the existing parking on site and submit that such parking would be sufficient based upon the representations of both the applicant's representative and the engineer.
So as submitted, they're asking for a waiver.
Go ahead, Dan.
Since this is, parking is, lack of a better word, regulated by the state saying how much there should be, do we have a right to do that?
You have a right to grant a waiver, and they have to,
We do.
you have to give them a waiver.
I don't think parking is regulated by the state whatsoever, it's entirely township code.
You said there's a minimum that they.
That's in our code.
That's
That's
our
in our
code.
code.
Oh, okay.
The state regulates some security procedures and how they handle the cannabis, but how you say specific things are entirely township code.
I heard her say that they, for cannabis, they require so many.
In our code.
In our code?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, our secretary, go ahead.
Point something out here. Pam, in your review for that, you marked the veterinarian at one space. Isn't that one of the spaces that you guys are gonna be taking up? Is the veterinarian still there? They're not even there, so does that account to anything?
Depends on what the parking requirements for a vet, if it's by square footer or by some other metric.
I'll put it this way, in general, the reason you have a shopping center requirement is so that you don't have to calculate individually every single time a new tenant comes in. Some towns do that, where they specifically have to identify, and then every time a new tenant moves into a shopping center, you gotta redo the site plan and go through the same parking calculations. It's a bit of a pain sometimes, but to some degree, the purpose of having a specific shopping center is so that you're encompassing the range of permitted uses there on the assumption that they're gonna change. Some will be restaurants, some will be a nail salon, some might be a tax office that's only busy in April and is dead for the other 11 months.
So it's based on square footage.
So the awkwardness is, we're introducing a use that has a different parameter. But
It is existing condition and it's maxed out.
Through the chair. So that number that they picked and put in the ordinance was arbitrary.
it was probably based on traffic and planning documents, so I wouldn't call it arbitrary. I'm sure it's based on, I don't know what it was based on, but there are studies out there that provide the foundation for those standards.
For a shopping center, the 5 per thousand is fairly standard. It's usually anywhere from retail use is anywhere from 4 to 5 per thousand. Cannabis, I've usually seen it based on either square footage, which would probably come out to something similar to this, and number of employees, that there's an assumption that I guess certain times of the year, certain days of the week, they'll be a little bit busier than others, and they want to make sure there's adequate parking there. So what I've seen in other cannabis businesses here in town, as well as other places in South Jersey, it seems to be anywhere from 10 to 20 parking spaces is what they're usually providing.
It's been functioning with a substandard
Yeah.
parking spaces
Through the
currently.
chair.
Go ahead.
So we have some leeway.
You do.
That
You
we
have-
can't
you
get.
have
That's
discretion.
what I'm getting at.
And you've had testimony,
That-
the operator believes that there's.
If I could
sufficient-
add on as well, I don't mean to cut off, but if I could add on as well, I would think potentially that that original parking count number that was placed in the ordinance plus the number of employees was probably based upon when these businesses were first becoming regulated and established. And since there's a decent amount more Class 5 cannabis retail facilities now in the surrounding area and throughout New Jersey, it's not my professional opinion, just a personal opinion, that the counts would very much so likely be less overburdened. There probably is less queuing outside in lots and people waiting around, just due to the expanding nature of this whole thing with the Class 5 facilities popping up.
Yes, John, go ahead.
Would you consider your business more online order, or is it going to be 50/50? You think there'll be a lot of customers in there?
Probably 50/50. I think as you get used to it, it's a matter of how you make it.
And so it would be more of a quick turnaround with people coming in and out. You're not going to be hanging out there for an hour.
Yeah, the ones that take the most time are the new customers, and a lot of that goes away.
Thank you.
All right. Ma'am, you got anything else?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The applicant should add a note to the plans that the site shall comply with the current ADA regulations, including and pertaining to pedestrian access routes, ADA parking stalls, or access to the building. Okay. In accordance with the cannabis code in Monroe Township, part of the site plan approval requirements, the following shall be submitted by all cannabis business: a safety and security plan, an emergency services access plan, a hazardous materials inventory, an environmental impact statement, and a waste control plan. None of the above plans were received as part of this application. These plans should be provided or waivers requested. There's been some testimony tonight about mainly security plan, some testimony about emergency services. Regarding the others, I assume you're asking for waivers.
We touched on the hazardous materials and the destruction or disposal of unused cannabis. In this instance, that would be, for the most part, with the hazardous materials. It would be considered that everything else is office waste or bathroom waste. And same with the waste control plan. We would seek a waiver providing the environmental impact statement. Again, just no exterior improvements, no addition to impervious coverage, so we would seek that waiver.
Do you have a safety and security plan or an emergency services access plan?
We do have those plans. The request would be if we could address them via testimony was the goal. They're somewhat considered proprietary, and we were trying to keep them out of the public record if possible.
So an alternative would be, as a condition, if it was approved, the safety and security plan, emergency services access plan are reviewed and approved by the township's emergency management services.
Absolutely, we would be amenable to that, correct? Yes. Yeah, we're happy to provide it.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, Pam? Somebody to look.
A cannabis business operations manual is required for any cannabis business as outlined in the code. Testimony should be provided, which I believe they provided quite a summary of the business operations. All cannabis business shall adhere to generally applicable township ordinances regulating odor admissions. All cannabis businesses must follow the protocols set forth in the Clean Air Act. I believe testimony has been provided on both of those items. If not, please provide it now.
Regarding the odor emissions, we had talked about the use of a carbon filtration system The fact that everything is sealed when it enters and exits the facility, nothing gets opened within the facility or opened on site. So that would be our method of addressing the odor emissions controls.
So you're not asking for a waiver, you're complying?
Asking for a waiver providing the plan itself, but with complying in the sense that we provided via testimony.
And that you will comply with the standards? You're not asking for a waiver from the standards for the odor?
Yes, not asking for a waiver from what the standards require at all. Just asking for a waiver from providing the physical document.
All cannabis businesses shall comply with the following regarding noise. At least one licensed armed security guard shall be on site at all times during the retail cannabis business hours of operation. Testimony is provided. All patrons must be screened by said security employees, and patrons must demonstrate proof of age. Testimony was provided. Security alarm system installation must follow the requirements as prescribed in NJAC 1739-10. Testimony, will you comply?
The applicant will comply.
All cannabis businesses shall comply with the following capacity restrictions. A maximum of 30 patrons per 1,500 square feet of gross floor area shall be permitted in any retail cannabis business establishment. Will you comply? In accordance with 175, 163, 4E, 5K, exterior loitering and security, people shall not be permitted to congregate outside of the dispensary, loiter, or wait in line to assess the dispensary. Will you comply?
Yes, we will comply with that requirement.
In accordance with 175, 163, 4E, 5L, all retail cannabis facilities shall implement an electronic messaging system to notify customers when they are permitted to enter the facility at times when capacity is exceeded. Do you propose this?
We're seeking a waiver of comment 5.3.7.
Just the electronic.
Just the electronic messaging system aspect of it.
So if people start gathering on the outside, the security guard will control who comes in?
Correct.
Correct.
And will ask the others to leave or wait in cars or something to that nature?
Correct.
Correct.
All cannabis businesses shall adhere to NJAC 1739-12 regarding storage. All cannabis retail businesses shall adhere to NJAC 730-12-7 regarding storage.
The applicant will
Testimony was
comply.
provided. Cannabis businesses shall have security systems in place along with a continuous recording system that records for a minimum of 30-day archive. This system shall be shared with the Monroe Township Police Department via web browser. Will you comply?
We will comply. Under general comments, the applicant should discuss the disposal of cannabis products. The license holder shall manage non-hazardous, unusable cannabis waste or cannabis items, etc. I believe testimony was provided regarding this section.
Correct.
Correct.
There is a trash enclosure on site for the strip center. However, a dedicated waste disposal area should be provided for the cannabis facility. Can you comply?
Yes, we will comply.
The following are The following are fee contributions and obligations. Does the applicant have any objections to the fees, contributions, and obligations as stated in our letter?
No.
No.
That concludes my report.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead.
I think go through my planning report. Again, I think 90% of what's in my report has now been covered by the testimony, as well as a little bit of overlap between engineering and planning. Again, I'll reiterate, Class 5 kennel retail businesses are permitted as a principal use in the district. It's not a conditional use, so there's no conditional requirements here. It's outright permitted in this area. There are three existing nonconformities that are technically variances, but they're not, nothing is changing here. That's the side yard setback, the rear yard setback, and the overall lot coverage. Those are all existing conditions. There's also several design waivers that are, again, existing conditions. That's buffer width on the side, buffering for the parking area, landscaping within the parking area, the number of parking spaces, the parking setback from the Black Horse Pike, the lack of sidewalks along the frontage, and the garbage dumpster area, which is supposed to be outside of any buffer area, is technically a buffer. Those are all design waivers, but those are, again, existing conditions that are not going to be changed by this application. They've addressed the operations of the business, hours, number of employees, procedures. Appears they have the letter of support at least from the township, and then I believe in here is, you have received your state license?
Yes, the annual license is provided in the exhibit packet.
They've addressed all the cannabis retail businesses for the township, confirmed no on-site consumption. Variances waiver, they said all the other cannabis requirements in terms of submitting documentation, they said they're going to do that. They've addressed what they're doing to control noise and odors from the facility. Other than the signage, no other changes. If you don't mind, can you address deliveries and security a little bit more? I'm very slight concern about a pretty narrow driveway in the back, and most other cannabis applications I've seen have a little bit more security in place in terms of how deliveries are received. I don't know how necessary it is entirely. I'll put it this way: an application I just reviewed in Delran showed a completely gated, essentially secure unloading area. I don't know that it's not a state requirement, but I'm just usually I see a little more than just, well, we got a door in the back and the loading area back there.
So I believe the applicant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the applicant's position on this is that because that back alleyway area isn't for the public, I mean, just the back doors to the units back there, there's no parking, so there shouldn't be anyone back there outside of operators of their respective businesses. So if anyone were to be back there, it would immediately become noticeable that there's an issue or someone is endeavoring to do something malicious potentially. With the Sprinter van being on a randomized time, as well as being possibly the best vehicle for the style of delivery in that tight area back there, it should be pretty quick and efficient, while at the same time maintaining a strong security presence, because that way we'll have the security guard right there. They'll be able to walk immediately to the Sprinter van right outside the building. There's, as we mentioned before, security cameras that are monitored 24/7, 365 with backup feeds coming to the respective entities if necessary. So at that point, we think that the security being moved to the back and say, well, for the most part, using what's existing as the features would be enough to, or would be sufficient to handle the proposed facility.
The only other question I have, I guess, is for the engineer in terms of that driveway in the back. It's shown on the plan is just 20 feet wide. I know it's certainly that's wide enough for a Sprinter van. They're standard sized vehicles. They fit on any roadway. But I don't know if you know the types of deliveries that other tenants in the building receive. If anybody has a larger truck coming back there that's unloading and just stops in the middle rather than pulling over on one side or another, that could be. Is there any concerns over a truck being back there, dropping off somewhere else, and the Sprinter van has an issue?
Not that we've observed.
Is that just like a one-way configuration?
And it's not delineated with arrows or anything? Presumably.
I would assume, based on the size of the tenant spaces, we're not going to have WB67s back there, but it's certainly possible that something larger than a Sprinter van could be making deliveries to one of these other tenants at some time. I'm guessing it's the type of thing where if it were an issue, that would have been an issue, whether it was a cannabis business here or anything else, that not a very large delivery space, and if it had been a problem, something that would have been a problem by now, and I don't know if somebody would raise the code, or we have some residents here, maybe we'll hear from them on how the existing building operates, and if there's any issues.
Through the chair. So if there is a truck back there making delivery, wouldn't the Sprinter van wait and maybe drive away and wait? They're not going to try to intervene why this.
Not only that, it's a pizza place, place where produce.
Right.
So they don't really have a requirement of being secret about it. They could deliver out front. They have big trucks, like a produce truck is a huge. So we would just wait.
Or if you saw
a car back there, they're going to. I'm sure the security would say, "Wait, we got a problem here, a potential problem, right?" In a conflict of trucks back there, and they would have to hold off until it was clear, right? That's common sense. That's common sense.
Anytime I've been there, there's not been a lot of.
No, I know the location. It is tight, like he said, so you do what he asked, where the security, which I understand what you're saying, others have, it's relatively impossible.
I'm just pointing out it's narrow back there, and normally we want to see a larger area for loading, unloading, but it's, again, probably something in terms of conflict with other vehicles, very rare. There's only 7 or 8 tenant spaces in here, and I don't think anybody's getting 4 or 5 deliveries a day from large trucks. It's the type of thing that if it's going to be a problem, it would rarely be a problem, it's something that could probably work itself out by one of the trucks waiting 15 minutes.
That's why I asked them, would they just pull away and wait until it cleared?
I have nothing else to add. Concludes my report. Again, there's a number of variances and waivers, but they're all existing conditions that are part of the previously approved site plan when the original shopping center was constructed.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from any board members? All right, this time, I have everything mostly presented to us.
I'm gonna open to the public.
I gotta open to the public.
I need a motion.
I need a motion to open to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public?
Anyone from the public want to comment on this application before us?
Come up to the mic.
Come up to the mic.
Our solicitor will
Our
swear you
solicitor
in.
will swear you in.
Do whatever we have to
Do
do.
whatever we have to do.
My name is Louis Figueredo.
How do I spell your last name?
How do I spell your last name?
As in Frank?
F as in Frank, I-G-U-E-I-R-E, D as in David, O.
Ms. Figueredo, do you raise your right hand, please?
Swear or affirm?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide us before is the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Good evening, members
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Louis Figueredo, co-owner of Relief Cannabis at 1024 South Black Horse Pike, Williamstown, New Jersey. While we welcome healthy competition and other businesses within the town, we are also very concerned with the placement of these dispensaries. We are so close to this dispensary that our landlord received a proximity letter for this meeting.
To give background,
I met with Mayor Wolf about 2 years ago to introduce ourselves once he took office. We were still working on our licensing process at that time.
During the meeting,
Mayor Wolf had voiced to me that he would allow up to 8 licensed dispensaries. This was a big change from our meeting with Mayor DeLucia about 3.5 years ago, who told us he would allow only 2. I expressed my concerns that 8 would be an oversaturation, especially in a town like Monroe, which still has many undeveloped areas. Mayor Wolf continued to explain how big Monroe Township actually is and that 8 could be accommodated.
to give a comparison, Washington Township,
a neighboring town, has capped their licensing for dispensaries to 3. They have 21 square miles compared to Monroe's 48 square miles, but they also have a population of approximately 50,000, while Monroe has a population of approximately 39,000.
I am concerned because
I am seeing exactly what we feared would happen. Dispensaries are being placed much too close to each other. 50% of the allotted licensing for Monroe Township will be located within within a 1.5 mile stretch of the Black Horse Pike.
To give
reference, I'm speaking of Spark 9, a dispensary that's going to be located across from the Wasabi. And then we have Greenleaf, who is a dispensary that's doing their build out right now across from Geets Diner. And then you have Relief, and then you would have this newer dispensary coming up in this shopping plaza.
This doesn't
include other dispensaries that I may not know about. I do know that there is one other about a half a mile down from Spark 9 that is also looking to open up shop. That would make 62.5% of the allotted licensing for Monroe Township and the total of 48 square miles to be located within 2 miles of each other.
My partner
Brittany Bailey voiced concerns at a meeting a few months ago and proposed a change to the ordinance to ensure that there's a distance requirement between dispensaries. Competition is great for growth, but oversaturation hurts everybody. We are 100% independently owned and operated. We spent every last bit of our earnings and everything that we saved to help this dream come true. This industry is tough for many reasons, ranging from taxation to federal legalities. Our overhead far exceeds that of a normal business. We are taxed far greater than other businesses. Having dispensaries this close will place a financial hardship on the small businesses. In short, there will be too many dispensaries competing for too few customers to cover costs. As a dispensary that is already operating within Monroe Township and contributing to the economic benefit, we urge the board to consider the proximity of this dispensary to Relief. I urge the board to consider the density of dispensaries that will be located in this section of the Black Horse Pike. I urge Monroe to foster the cannabis industry and strategize where these dispensaries can be located so that everybody can benefit. I also urge a change to the ordinance to reduce the number of permitted Class 5 licenses within Monroe to more appropriately align with Monroe's population size rather than square footage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment on this application before us?
Seeing none,
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next order of business.
Next order of business.
Anthony here?
Anthony here?
Oh,
Oh,
that's fine.
that's why. Oh, that's right.
Hello again.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. If I may offer just a rebuttal comment, just for our record. The reason that these businesses are very likely so close in proximity is because within this zone, it's a permitted use. We're just making use of the local zoning requirements that will allow us to not have to seek a use variance in order to establish the business. And with regard to the number of licenses, although again, we're just making use with the amount that Monroe Township allows, the governing body is the entity charged with determining the number of licenses permitted within the township. So while we understand and do in fact empathize with the positions of the other local business owners, we are merely just trying to make use of what Monroe Township has permitted and allotted with respect to the zone and the license count. Thank you.
Second that, this board has no jurisdiction over the number of licenses that the township wishes to issue for Class 5 cannabis retail. That's entirely up to the town council, and they had determined 8. I have no background information on why they picked 8 rather than 4, 6, 10, 12. They set it at 8, and until you hit that 8, anybody who comes in that meets all the requirements is considered a permitted use.
Any question for any of the board members before we vote?
Mr. Gentleman has something more to say.
Mr. Pedrino looks like he wants to speak again. Your pleasure. If you want to give a matter, if it's closed.
You need to close it.
Sure, no problem.
Come to the mic.
Come to the mic, state your name and address, and swear you in.
Louis Figueredo, 1220 Thackeray Court, Sycamore, New Jersey.
You remain under.
Yes. Just to also clarify, Monroe Township has 48 square miles. And right now, there's no strategy in place for a distance between dispensaries. So we're clustering dispensaries into one small area when you have so much more available. So that's all I'm trying to say. I just want to open up the suggestion to the town. And we could definitely foster a better cannabis industry if we have more rules in place.
So just to echo, comments are welcome and appreciated. board has an obligation to evaluate the application against the ordinances that are in place. You got a lot of good policy comments, that are interesting, but the board doesn't have the discretion to ignore the ordinances that are in place, and if the applicant has been, if they're approved, board has an obligation to act accordingly.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comment from any board members? I guess we gotta go ahead.
So if the board were inclined to make a vote to approve the application, it should include a condition that, unless otherwise specified on the record, that all the conditions and recommendations of the board's planning and engineering reports be made conditions of the application, and in particular, the security and emergency management plans be submitted to the township's emergency management officials for their review and approval. I think those are the two conditions that I marked, but if I've missed one, I'm happy to. Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
I wanted to make sure that it was specified that they were for not to be submitted generally to the board, but to the emergency services personnel.
What I would want is, what I would ask or recommend is that you obtain from the fire marshal for the fire or police department a letter or a memo saying that they reviewed your plan and satisfactory to them.
Absolutely.
I would expect that they would have a copy of it on.
Yes.
That they would keep a copy so that they know how to respond if there's ever an issue.
Absolutely. And that's why we have no
Not come back
issue
to
providing it to them.
You get something from them to us, and it's fine.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
You heard our solicitor?
You heard our solicitor, you heard the application? I'll entertain a motion for
Motion to approve with the conditions listed by our solicitor.
second. Second. Have a roll call.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes, with the conditions listed by our solicitor, it does comply.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Maury?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are we at?
Anthony here?
Anthony here.
Go right up.
Go right up. Mike will swear you in. Sure.
Name's Anthony Iovino.
Name's Anthony Iovino.
And to your left, is that your bride? Is she also going to testify?
Ginger Hartman.
So do we both raise your right hand? You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is true, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please tell us where you're at.
I purchased a property
on Main Street, right across the street from St. Mary's, 704 South Main Street. Zoned regional growth commercial, current use is residential, and I'm looking to have the use changed to commercial to open up a coffee house. To serve coffee, baked goods,
Off-site
goods that'll be brought in and sold at the coffee house. Went through Pinelands, got the letter of certificate of filing. And now I'm here talking to you guys about a waiver for a minor site plan.
So, go ahead. Physically, what are you changing on the site?
Nothing. I'm requesting for on-street parking. Since it's Main Street, I can do employee parking in the back that was already being used as a driveway for residents. I propose that we can have an ADA parking spot in the back, since there's not one on Main Street. And we would build a ADA ramp from that spot to the front of the house where the entrance is.
So,
Parking for employees in the back, 1 to 3 on staff at a time, and an ADA parking spot if you required it. If you didn't require it, I'm a proponent to ADA, and I would be doing that at my own accord. But nothing's getting changed on the exterior of the property.
It's a permitted use.
Regional growth commercial.
Have any questions from any of the board members?
And one, what are you doing in terms of deliveries?
Deliveries would be
In the morning, and it would probably be either in the front or the back of the property. That's still open for discussion with whoever we decide to take on as our company that we decide to go with.
Are you doing any off-site catering?
No.
No. Are we doing any off-site catering?
Are you doing food preparation?
No. Everything's going to be brought in from off-site. So if we hire a baker, donuts, rolls, whatever, it would be prepared off-site, brought in to be sold on-site.
What are your hours of operation going to be?
7 to 7.
7 to 7, 6 to 6, we're still
Kicking that around.
kicking that around.
7 days. 7 days.
Yes.
It's a two-story building. It's a two-story building.
Yes.
Yes.
So what's the use of the second floor?
The second floor has 4 current bedrooms that will be converted into just sitting rooms. So a couple couches.
That's it.
That's it. There's a bathroom on the second floor, and they would just be recreational spaces. That's it.
It's not going to be separate uses. It's going to be.
No, that zoning doesn't permit for residential commercial use in the same building.
So we would use it.
So we would use it, and I honestly wouldn't want to do that anyway. I'd rather keep it all one unified, building for one purpose.
Can you describe some of the landscaping you're proposing?
There was a couple old trees that were on the property. I already had taken down, but they were half dead, and then actually in line with the power lines. But I would do landscaping around the base of the house, and probably along the ADA ramp that would have to be built, just so it's not sticking out.
So to the right, if you're looking at your property, it looks like you're going to be putting a row of arborvitae.
There's a neighboring
property there that's residential, and there's a fence there now, but I would be willing to do a line of arborvitae's there to create some type of privacy.
Have you spoken to the neighbors on either side?
Will there still be neighbors?
No, have you spoken to them?
I spoke to the priest next to me. They're excited. The lady next to me, she works 3 jobs, so trying to catch her in person has been tough. But I've spoken to a mutual friend of hers on the phone.
Where's your trash going to be located and managed?
So
when you come in the driveway that's on the right of the property, there's an existing 1-car garage there, detached. I can manipulate the parking or the dumpsters, but I kind of propose that it'd be easier for the truck just to back in without making any turns and pick up the dumpsters that are the screen blocks.
I forget when I drive by, when you drive in the right, can you come out on the other side?
You could, but that was in gentleman's agreement between the owner of that property and that property next door. So what they do is they just connected their 2 driveways in the past. But I would not do that. I'm sure they wouldn't want to do it too,
So your trash truck is going to back in?
Back in.
Or they could,
we can position the dumpsters opposite way where they can pull in, pack up, take it, and then go back out the same way they came in.
And that's
probably, I know I had talked about, we could even do on curb pickup too, but I think it would just probably be easier just to have the 2 small dumpsters there for convenience sake.
Leave that area. Do you mind? Maybe, especially if the truck's backing up, the beeping, the noise for the neighbors. Can we put a little time frame maybe on it so we don't have
Yeah,
People being, you know, upset that the trucks come at 5, we've had it in other areas.
Oh, I'm sure.
They come at 5 AM and
I currently run space out at 100 North Blackhurst, like next to Gates Steiner. I have a real estate brokerage that I have there. Our dumpster pickups are almost midday. So I would request to do the same, so the time is right.
so we don't have
6 o'clock.
to complain that they're coming early in the
Yeah.
morning and waking up
Yep.
the neighborhood. Thank you.
Trash and deliveries no earlier than 6 AM.
No,
I would make it probably.
I would make it probably midday.
I would make it 7 AM.
7 AM.
Right, right.
It's in the ordinance.
Yeah, that's so it's clear that
Sure.
I think you've summarized the application. Board's pleasure if they want to ask any additional questions or any other thoughts or.
Chair, are you going to put any additional lighting outside?
It's an old house. It was built in 1890, so there's 3 lampposts that probably go back to who knows when. Up front, they're not currently being used. I plan on hooking them back up. They were gas, so I'm gonna run electric to them and have them just lit up at night. On the sides of the house, it's apparent floodlights on the side. Obviously, I want to talk to the neighbors. I don't want them lighting them up. But I would have parking or lighting in the back for employee parking and that 88 parking spot. that I could
How
put.
good chance of signage, wood signage are you planning?
I looked into it, what is it, 80 square?
On the building, outside?
No, outside, closer to the sidewalk, for the same.
I think I messed it up.
I think I messed it up on the plans there. It has it in the front, so
Inside lit out the sign or
probably lighting the sign.
to the side?
Yeah, those are options I still have to explore.
And you'll comply with whatever sign.
Comply with 100%.
requirements by the-
Size, lighting.
And I see you have the.
And I see you have the
porch
seating on the porch
Going around.
going
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Right for the, okay.
Yeah, there's only
Probably enough space for 4 tables there, if that.
But, yeah, I
But,
wanna use it,
yeah,
right?
I want to use it, right?
Deliveries will be like from truck to park in the street and just walk in, because it's probably hard. I don't know what, is the van going to be bringing your products and?
Yeah, it would probably be
More than
something
a
like
big panel truck.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a big panel truck. It'd probably be more or less like a Sprinter van or something where they could pull around back. Access to the kitchen area, which would probably be where we would just store that stuff, is right there off the back of the house. So it'd probably be easier if they were saying, no, we just want to pull up to the house, pull it up the driveway. It's totally up to them.
Thank you.
So do we talk about?
So
the
do we
parking?
talk about the parking?
I
hate to say it, but do you talk about the parking? We have to at least bring that
Yeah,
up.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, parking's always going to be the conversation
All day long.
all day long.
I'm banking on
I'm
that
banking
it's on
on
Main
that
Street.
it's on Main Street. We have
The theater
the theater that utilizes Main Street, Ashland Oak, 13th Child. Why not coffee shop? I mean, it was zoned regional growth commercial, knowing that there would be parking issues. But I think that is a thriving kind of atmosphere for a Main Street when you have cars, people. If you go to Pittman or Hamilton or Collinswood, that's what you're surrounded by. So
it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. It shows there's life, there's activity, there's people.
I
think half of my clients are going to come from the church,
That's going to be a problem.
So we would probably have to work with maybe a crosswalk that I would work with the township on if needed to be. But I think half of them are going to leave church and want to come over, and they're already going to be parked across the street.
Well, you have to keep in mind that during the masses, there's a lot of church parking that goes on Main Street.
They park on Main
They park on Main
Oh,
Street.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be an obstacle for you.
As far as
getting in.
As far as the parking along Main Street, right where you're located.
The customer's not related. to the church.
Yeah, that would be taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. If the people going to St. Mary's or park there, your customers are going to have to park during the masses.
They're gonna figure that out.
somebody. I'm not trying to discourage you.
It is, it's a good
I'm just
point.
saying, that's a great thing, that's a great problem, right? It's like, they might go across the street and park there, maybe that'll be an extra parishioner they gain, I don't know, I'm just saying.
To elaborate what he said, which is correct.
Yeah.
But it'd be no different than, let's say, in the center of town, where 13 Child, if they're having something and I want to go to the restaurant, pizzeria.
The only difference is you have to do Steel Bank, right? You
Yeah.
park behind
Yeah.
it. Unless you can work something out with St. Mary's where your patrons can park at St. Mary's, that's,
Yeah, that's a
you know.
conversation.
Yeah, that's a conversation I was just gonna have, just for courtesy sake. I already talked to,
The priest next door.
the priest next door, and they're super excited if I said, if you were okay with that, I can make a contribution to like snow removal in the wintertime. Just have some kind of relationship built with that.
As long as you look at that, because that could be an issue.
Yeah.
Point everyone's.
Point everyone's
Right.
hand,
Yeah.
right, no,
I get
right,
it.
just
Keeping it out there.
keeping it
So-
out
You
there,
gotta
so
keep it-
everything right.
Yeah, you wanna keep people safe, you wanna keep people, happy. And,
I have no doubt.
I have no doubt we'll make it work.
Any other comments from any board member? I'll entertain a motion to approve the application before us. Or do I have to?
We have to open the
Oh,
public.
sorry.
We have to open
Public,
Sorry.
we have to open the public.
You guys are getting me tonight. Anyone from the public want to come up and comment?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike McDonough,
You have to state your name and address.
508
Our solicitor
South
will
Main
swear
Street.
you in.
Can you repeat your name?
Mike McDonough.
Thank you.
I live in the 500 block up
You're
the
up.
street.
Do you swear
I walk the street all the time.
swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I walk the street all the time.
I
I believe that there is no parking on one side of the street from Virginia Avenue down to the CBS. On the church side of the street, there's no parking at all. There's no parking to their left.
That's
all because of the intersection there, so that's no parking in that area.
The only parking.
The only parking is the two properties to the right of the house as I'm facing it.
The problem is.
The problem is they want to have coffee,
When we get our coffee.
when we get our coffee, 6 to 9 o'clock every morning,
That's the most traffic.
that's the most traffic.
At
At that time, we have mass
At 6:45.
at 6:45 every morning. People are coming in at 6.
We have the school.
We have the school children coming in anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30.
The traffic there.
The traffic there is, we worked with the police, we had a big problem for a while where we would back up Main Street. So working with the police, we came up with the solution that our buses would go on the side of the school to unload, and we created 2 lanes for unloading the children when the parents dropped them off.
And that cleared up.
And that cleared up most of the time, the Main Street, except of course, bad weather and the first week of school when all the kids are crying and didn't want to get out of the car.
But otherwise,
we've done well in taking care of this traffic on Main Street.
I can tell you
right now, this parish council has talked about this. They will not allow people to park on our property. The first reason, the police have said to us, nobody should park on the property who's not there on the property for the safety of the school children.
So I can
tell you right now,
there will be no
using our property for this business. They have those 2 properties to their right side is all where they can park.
They have 2 spots.
They have 2 spots in front of their house. That's it.
So
So even if they park, people are parking there, that's going to create a traffic problem every morning. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Barron. My address is 441 Alfred Avenue in Glassboro. I'm an employee of the Our Lady of Peace Parish.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide the board is nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm an employee of the parish and the school, and our concern is definitely the parking for the business itself. So during the school day, parents pulling out of those driveways. That would cause another hazard for them on either side, because we have those 3 driveways that go onto Main Street where those parking spots are available. So that's a hazard for them coming in and out of those driveways. We also have the afternoon when the parents are picking up the children, and at evening for the CCD kids. So, and we do have lots of activities that go on there. So really our parking is just for parish and school events. So we just wanted to make you aware of that, we do have that big concern. And most of the parking in front of St. Mary's and along the side of Carroll, too, is a non-parking zone due to the corners and the other businesses that are up the street. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else want to comment?
Anyone else want to comment?
Seeing none, hearing none?
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Motion to
Public
close.
portion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Solicitor?
So,
It's advertised.
it's advertised and noticed as a
Minor site plan.
minor site plan.
Site plan
I'm sorry,
waiver.
site plan waiver.
What's that?
What's that?
Yes.
Yes,
It is a,
it is a,
it is a site plan.
it is a
waiver,
site
so
plan
there's no
waiver, so there is no advertising.
And
And
the applicant's not
the
asking
applicant's
for
not
variance.
asking for a variance,
For site plan.
asking for a site plan
Waiver.
waiver.
Have an issue about
We
parking.
have an issue about parking,
The board's
it's
discretion.
in the board's discretion to decide if you want to approve it or not, but you're not granting variance for parking because it hasn't been asked.
So we're just
So we're just setting on the waiver.
You're
You're
approving the site.
approving the site plan,
The waiver of the site.
the waiver of the site plan.
For a regular
right?
site
For a
plan.
regular site plan, they would come in, have an engineer, they'd have a more engineered plan, they would come in, they'd make an application, have a report that would say, application is complete, an evaluation.
This is a waiver of that.
This is a waiver of that, it's a permitted use, right? And there's no substantial or substantive change to the existing footprint.
That's why they're here.
That's why they're here, asking for a waiver of site plan.
And you heard our solicitor? Did you make the motion?
Someone want to make a
Someone
motion?
want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Are there any conditions or anything? Should we discuss any?
He needs signage.
He's gotta comply with-
He's got to comply with code and signage, he's going to have employee parking in the rear.
I'll incorporate it.
I'll incorporate it based on this.
All right.
So first was Kozak, second was Hessel. Okay, Mr. Kozak.
Yes, yes, it's on Main Street. This is part of, if you want any growth on Main Street, this is part of the problem. You can't change it now. So, hopefully, it won't interfere with the flow of the traffic. If any illegal parking, police will ticket it. So, yes.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next order of business.
Sure, there's two other, last order of business is three ordinances that the planning board has been asked to review. In a discussion with Pam, one of the ordinances, Pam will tell you, her recommendation is that we table action on that ordinance, and that relates to open space. So the three ordinances that you were asked to look at and Amy circulated was an ordinance changing open space and park regulations, second ordinance relating to signage, and a third ordinance tweaking regulations relating to cannabis uses. The first of those three ordinances is an ordinance proposed to make some of the township open space and park and recreation facility requirements for land development more robust. And I'm talking to Pam, I think staff wants a greater opportunity to review it to make sure that to the extent that ordinance would change processes and procedures and review protocols, that it's properly integrated throughout the balance of the ordinance. Is that fair?
That's correct.
So with the board's permission, I just think we table that until board's planner has an opportunity to review it with township staff.
Any motion to table that?
Yeah, we got an all favor motion?
Yeah, we need a motion to table it.
Motion to table that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
The second ordinance you've been asked to consider is an ordinance relating to signage and displays on public property. It's a pretty simple ordinance talking about township's ability to remove signs that pop up on property that the town controls. Amy, you have anything else to?
No, for the signs, they're adding a section to the sign ordinance. It's for signs and displays on public property. Also gives the right to require them to be removed. There is the allowance for exceptions for government and public interest signage. Pretty straightforward. It's not inconsistent with the master plan.
So I drafted an ordinance and circulated it. If the board has any other questions for Pam, if the board wanted to pass a resolution, they can pass the resolution that I drafted, which finds that the proposed ordinance is consistent with the master plan of the Township of Monroe. What number would that ordinance be?
I don't know, it's just a draft, they don't give me a number when they send them, sometimes they're not prepared that way.
Yep, so if you want, I'm sorry, no, the resolution approving it, what number would it
The
be?
resolution for the signs is 14.
So if you wanted to look at it again and come back next month, you can. But if you wanted to make a motion to adopt Planning Board Resolution 1425, which finds that the amendments to Chapter 175 relating to signage and displays on public property is consistent with the Township's master plan, and therefore recommending that it be adopted by council.
So, through the chair, ultimately, the council's going to review it, and then they're the ones that make the final decision.
And it came to us from council.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So we're sending it over to council.
So we're sending it back saying it.
Send it back to them, that we reviewed it, and we have no problem.
We just need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second.
Okay, Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Giacomucci?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
I didn't review it, so I abstain.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Okay.
The other ordinance that council has asked you to review and MLUO requires us to review changes a standard relating to cannabis use. And actually, I don't understand this one. It looks like in the ordinance, there was language that says cannabis business shall not be located within a building which contains a residence or within a mixed-use development, which includes a residential use. And the amendment is to strike that. Can you?
Correct.
Can you?
Yes, the state regulations have removed the prohibition of cannabis businesses being located within a building with residential uses.
So this would make our
So this would
ordinance.
make ours consistent with state regulations.
And it's also then consistent with our master plan.
It is not, it is consistent. We don't address cannabis actually in the master plan.
So it's not inconsistent.
It's not inconsistent.
So that's would be Planning Board Resolution 15 of 25. I'm sorry, 13?
I had this, the open space one as 15.
Gotcha, okay.
I have a question through the chair. Does it specify you, Pam, review, that the residents can be owner occupied only, or it can be anybody living in the residence?
I don't believe it's specified.
It doesn't
Literally
specify.
just removing a prohibition of combining the two. I'm trying to think off the top of my head how many potential instances that could even be of where cannabis is permitted and how many mixed-use buildings there currently are.
Nothing's coming to mind.
I'm thinking of some, in an urban setting where you've got residences above and first floor retail or first floor.
That is correct.
And that is correct.
But we're not specifying that it has to be owner occupied.
No, nothing like that.
Okay,
That has to be accessed.
It has to be accessed, and that's exactly what it was, correct.
okay, good.
So Planning Board 1325 would be a resolution that you would adopt if you so were inclined to confirm that it's consistent with the master plan and recommend adoption to council and send it back to council.
Basically mirroring the statement.
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Hessel?
Yes.
Mr. Kozak?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobucci?
Yes.
Yes.
Sacks?
Yes.
Mr. Kurz? Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Okay.
We only have minutes left. I have to open a public portion. I need a motion to open a public portion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none here, none, I need a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
I need approval of the minutes, March 3rd, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody have any reports? Need an adjournment.
Second.
All was in order. Thank you. Even though we had a little struggle here.